Full room round of applause straight off the bat. Here we go.
Yes, very kind. Thank you very much.
Sterling, you're very welcome.
You guys are awesome. I'm doing great. How about yourselves?
Right, good, man. You are fresh as a daisy. You are in from New York, LA to New York, from LA to New York, from New York to LA. And now you are here in London. You're on the Graham Norton Show tonight.
I am on the Graham Norton Show tonight. Looking forward to it.
So Graham hosts his Saturday and Sunday morning show here.
That's right.
In this very chair.
Wow.
Often we get guests that have been on his show on the Thursday. We get them on the Friday, and we get Graham Norton lag. He's going to get breakfast show lag tonight.
There you go.
Yes!
There you go. You got to me first.
How are you feeling? How's the flight? How's the jet lag?
Flight was great. Jet lag was crazy. Like, I went to bed around 2:30. I woke up around 6. But I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? I'm in London. I'm making the most of the time while I'm here. I'm great.
Thanks for bringing the weather, man.
It's my pleasure. Was it cold before?
Oh, it's cold anyway, but it's just nice and cold now.
Thank you very much.
It's nice to look at.
Happy to be of service.
Sterling K. Flipping Brown.
Talk
Here we
to
go.
me, Chris.
American Fiction. We all watched it yesterday.
Yes.
Blown away by it, mate.
Thank you, brother.
Honestly, it's so fantastic. It's one of those films, you've watched loads of films in your life and you sit down and you think, yeah, this is okay. This is worthy of my attention and my time.
Yeah.
It's good. And then you think, no, it's great. And then you think, no, it's really good. And then it's a slow burn and then you get the hockey stick effect and it goes mental at the end. Yes, please. Your character, Cliff. So this is Cliff as I see him, right?
All right, give me your breakdown of Cliff.
Okay, so Cliff is newly gay, even though he's probably always been gay.
Sure.
In his own words, in part of the film, he's newly gay. I've only been gay for 5 minutes, and he's having all the fun. He's newly gay, freshly divorced, has children, is broke, probably because of the divorce, is fit as you like, looks like he's been hewn out of stone, and I don't know what that is, by the way.
I like that.
You can't see that
it's
on the radio.
Good visual.
And also, he seems to be unhealthily, potentially addicted to certain substances. He's got all that going on, but he retains his moral fibre.
Yeah. No, I like that assessment of him. I think he's messy. Like, when you find him, he's messy. I think for 20 years, he's been living his life in the closet as a heterosexual man and has been unhappy because of that. And so when you find him in the movie, he is someone who is living out loud. And living out loud for him means not listening to what anybody has to tell him about how he should live his life, especially his brother, played by Jeffrey Wright, the amazing Jeffrey Wright as Thelonious Monk. I find him delightful. I find him sort of someone who's looking for his authentic truth, right? And while it may be a messy exploration, he knows he has to be messy in order to get to that place.
Yeah, and it's sort of like when you listen to music at home and you've had it on 1, right?
Yeah.
And you're fed up of having it on 1, so you don't go to 5, you just go to 10.
You turn that to 11.
Thank you very much indeed.
Apologies.
So so you have been nominated for the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor.
Correct.
All right. So screen time wise, well done, because he's not in it that much.
He's not in that much.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't done the minute count, but it won't be many minutes, will it?
No. I mean, it reminds me of Dame Judy for Shakespeare in Love.
Exactly.
Well, she had 8 minutes and some odd seconds or whatnot.
Did you think the same thing then?
I did. I did not think I probably had enough screen time to merit the recognition. I felt good about the work. I felt good about the movie, and I was happy with that. So the fact that this little cherry on top of the sundae came is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I suppose it's not about the minutes in your life; it's about the life in those screen minutes, isn't it? Yeah,
there you go, Chris.
Because we talk often on the show. What is time? Time doesn't really pass. We pass through time, and that's fine if you need to measure things, and if you don't bother with it.
This is very metaphysical, yeah.
And that's a horizontal thing, isn't it? But we prefer to go vertical. And there is no time because vertical is in the now, and he's very much in the now, isn't he?
I like that. Wait a minute, that sounds deeply meditative. Like, how did you come to this philosophy?
That's where we live. That's where this show lives.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, good.
Thank you, Chris.
But the film's that, isn't it? The film is that. May I say? I didn't know whether to say this or not. It reminds me of the movie Sideways.
Okay.
Because Sideways is this film. You think it's this gentle film, and it's rolling along, and then it's gently profound, but it's fully profound whilst remaining light. Yeah, that's a tough trick to pull off.
It's not a loud film, it's funny, right? People are laughing out loud, but it's not played for bits. Like the comedy comes from life and from character, right? And I think that because the movie does have a message, But I don't think Cord Jefferson, our writer-director, was setting out to make a message movie. He wanted people to have a good time at the theater and also leave it thinking about what it is that they consume on a regular basis, especially when it comes to the Black experience and what the authentic Black experience is, because I think it has been somewhat narrower, especially in the States, with regards to what Hollywood sees as being producible for a mainstream audience. So it usually has to do something with a slave narrative, an inner city narrative, overcoming major trauma or what have you. And that's not all of who we are. To the point where when people meet someone like me sometimes in the States, they're like, well, you're not like a real Black guy. You're like different. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing that you're saying.
Good luck with that
not.
conversation.
You know, because like the breadth of experience that we get a chance to see on mass media has been limited. And so this is Cord's way of saying we are more, and it's just human. Whether it's Black, white, Asian, Latino, etc. It's all human, and it's relatable. If you give us a chance to tell the story, you can see yourself inside of it.
Right, and the clever narrative at the heart of the story. Can you just take us through that? So we have Monk, who is a writer, and he's a frustrated writer because he's not as successful as he thinks he should be. And so to sort of self-therapy, he creates this book of what he considers to be nonsense.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm saying
You keep going.
Speak more to the plot. I like it. Yeah.
It is. He writes this book. He thinks that what has been readily digestible for mainstream audiences is sort of playing to the lowest common denominator of what the Black experience is.
Yes.
Right? So it's all in dialect. It's, you know, I ain't begotten no weapon, that sort of thing, where the white gaze feels as if like this is the bravest thing that they have ever seen, and we need to listen to Black voices. And it's sort of like, what? This is dross, right? In his mind. So he goes out, if you want dross, if that's what people are ready to digest, then I will give you the crappiest thing that I can possibly write. Yeah. And so he writes something called My Pathology. Not pathology, My path. With
it starts as pathology on the typewriter.
Yes.
Then he changes it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so for him, it becomes one of his most wildly successful.
So he writes it as a joke.
He writes it as a joke. He writes it under a synonym.
And he says to his agent, "Do not send this out."
Yeah.
No, actually, he says, "Do send it out, but
send
not,
it out."
Yeah.
But as a, you know, we'll see if they can take a joke or not.
Not as a parody.
No, just send it out straight up. And then the response that he gets is like, you know, Hollywood producers want to give you an advance so they can make a movie and all this stuff. And so he gets caught up in this cycle of like he's now contributing to the thing that he's been railing
that he
against.
despises.
Yeah.
And his ire was piqued when he attended a literary festival and he witnessed a talk by a Black author who he thought was committing this or perpetrating this kind of nonsense, this unhelpful nonsense.
Correct.
Who he then unknowingly joins a judging panel with to judge the books of the year. And then this is where it starts to get really. I mean, it gets really clever.
Very.
That gets clever, and then on the side. His and your character's mum that has dementia.
Yes.
I don't want to say too much about the sister because it's going to spoil things.
Sure.
But there's this whole beach house inheritance thing going on as well.
Yeah.
Then there's the Alzheimer's journey, and there's what do you do with your older parents when you don't have enough money? Then suddenly you do have enough money.
Chris, you really like the movie.
Oh,
this
no,
is
no,
really
no,
exciting.
No, hang on a minute. It's a 10. This movie's a 10.
Right on, man.
I watched it last night, and it finished. And I said out loud, I was on my own in the living room, and I said out loud, "Well, that's one of the best movies ever."
Thank you, sir.
And I really mean, it's brilliant. It's absolutely 100% brilliant. Right, more about the movie in a bit.
Okay.
What about your Oscar nomination?
What about it?
Well, I know there's a story about how you were the last to know.
I was one of the last to know. The Oscar nominations.
Which must be a first.
They come out like at 8:30 in the morning Eastern Standard Time, which is 12:30 here, which is late, but it's 5:30 in the morning on the West Coast where I live. So I was sound asleep. I got 2 kids that I got to get ready for school. They're 12 and 8. My phone was dead because I fell asleep on my son's floor in their bedroom.
Yes.
So I woke up, charged my phone, go ahead and start getting their breakfast ready, come back to the phone. I have 126 text messages that have been unanswered. I don't normally get 126 text messages. I looked at them. They're all saying congratulations and whatnot. I was like, I'll be doggone. I got nominated for an Oscar, man. And it's one of those pinch me moments that you never think will come to fruition. You sit and you watch the show and you see how cool it is to be in that room with all those famous people getting recognized on the highest level. And now I get a turn to be in the room where it happens, which I think is just awesome.
Control room.
Stop.
Thank you
no,
very much.
Don't
No,
do it.
These are rare.
Don't
man.
do it.
Oscar nomination. By the way, not a past nominee, not a future nominee, a current nominee. If you touch him, you will burn your finger.
You guys.
This man is sizzling hot.
You're trying to make a black man blush, but it won't work. This is as much as I
Do you know
change
what?
color.
I think it
Thank
is.
you.
I think it is. Right now, here's a funny twist to the domestic tale, because your wife has been nominated for awards in the past.
She has.
And the +1 discussion has been interesting, hasn't it, Sterling?
My wife was the first person nominated for anything in our household. She was nominated for a SAG Award for Best Ensemble for a TV show called Boston Legal.
Nice.
And I said, oh, this is really cool. We get a chance to go to the SAG Awards. We get a chance to hobnob with all the stars and everything. She goes, well, actually, I'm thinking about taking my manager. You know, it's a really wonderful networking opportunity for me. And I was like, oh, yeah, totally understand. I went in the corner. I cried silently. I didn't want her to see it. So she goes. She enjoys herself. Years later, things start to happen for SKB. And she's like, oh, man, we get to go to the Emmys. And I'm like, we? You know, don't you remember what happened about 6 years ago when I wanted to go to the SAG Awards? And you're like, no. But interestingly enough, Chris, it doesn't work the same way opposite. If I did not take my wife, we would not be married. So I made the right decision.
All right, of course, you do have like a +3 potentially for the Oscars. Clearly, I mean, I'm guessing you're taking your
I'm
wife.
just learning about, like, so you get 6 tickets?
Do you actually?
Sorry, you don't get 6 tickets. You get to pay for 6 tickets.
That's fine. That's fine. Who cares?
Tickets are around $1,500, from what I understand.
Clearly, you get yours for free. Clearly,
I get mine and the +1, but then I get the option of buying 4 more.
Okay.
That I just learned about.
And
I'm not gonna buy it.
but
if I would have taken anyone in reality, I would have taken my mother. But my mother's not in a position to travel right now in her current condition. But she would have been the only person that would fork out another $1,500. These 2 boys of mine, they don't care. They need to go to bed and go to school the next day anyway. So
all right, and they've not been down particularly with awards in the past. You've taken success home and it's not landed at all, has it?
I mean, they get it and they appreciate it,
Yeah.
but for them, I think the most important role is that of DAD. Like, they don't really care about anything
I'm with you.
else.
Yeah, I get it. I get it 100%. And now at this moment, this window, this sort of stasis, I suppose, of being a nominee.
Yeah.
You haven't won, you haven't lost. Let's just leave it like that. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It's not bad. I will eventually. I'm going to say this on the record. I'm not even saying this for anything other than the truth.
Okay.
I'm not going to win.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. Like, honestly, like, I'm okay with that. I actually know who's going to win.
Okay, who's going to win?
Robert Downey Jr. is going to win the Oscar.
Right. For Oppenheimer?
For Oppenheimer.
Okay.
And Robert Downey Jr. is awesome. I love him. Everyone who knows him loves him, and if you don't know him, you probably love him from afar because he's just that darn cool.
Right.
I will stand up and applaud his win. And if anybody else wins, I'll stand up and applaud them too. And I'm fine to just be in the room.
I know a bloke who owns a gym with Robert Downey Jr.
Do you?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, he's my surf teacher in Los Angeles.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Now, is it a gym for like martial arts? Because I know Robert Downey Jr. is into that sort of thing. Or is it just like a lifting gym?
It's a gym that you can hire as a PT if you have a client. And so it's that kind of gym. It's like a gym space.
Okay.
And my surf teacher owns it along with his business partner. And at some point, it was a couple of months actually, many surfs before he said, oh, by the way, it's Robert Downey Jr. He held it back for a while.
You surf every day?
I try.
Not here. Can you surf here? Where's the surf?
Oh, you can surf everywhere. Yeah, you surf on the 14th floor. You surf with the surf guys. Yeah. You can tube surf. You can. No, I surf. I try and surf in Los Angeles.
Okay.
For 28 days straight. It's fun.
Like when? In the summer or when?
Santa Monica, down Santa Monica. If you do July 22nd this year to whenever it is.
So when you go out, you'll probably wind up seeing Jeffrey Wright because he's an avid surfer as well.
Right, there's lots of people. It's not just two of us.
There's a ton of people. There's a ton of people, but he's
You know how
out
the
there every
surfing
day.
goes. With Robert Downey Jr., you're up against. Is it how many people in the category?
Five people.
So you're up against Robert Downey Jr.
Downey Jr.,
Yeah.
Gosling, De Niro.
What?
De Niro and Mark Ruffalo.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is some.
It's
kind
a
of crew.
great company
And
to
do you
be in.
get together as a crew of nominees in the same category?
I think that there is a luncheon that they have before the Oscars, and all the nominees are in the room together. We all eat lunch, and then they take this big picture. That's kind of like the yearbook picture of the nominees for that year.
What might you be wearing for that?
Oh, that's good. That's a good question. I'm currently looking at options right now. There's a few things on the horizon, but I can't commit at this particular moment.
Can I just say, if it's skins, i.e. naked from the waist up,
No.
that's that would help you with the votes.
I appreciate that.
You know that.
I take care of myself,
You
Chris.
take care of yourself. You take care of yourself maybe more than Lenny Kravitz, which is sort of impossible.
I have a better seamstress on in my pants than Lenny Kravitz. I keep those things.
Okay, let's
together.
keep it above the waist,
That's it.
please.
Exactly.
Naughty Stanley.
Yeah.
No, seriously. I mean, you are visible for above the waist, naked in this film a lot. You are a fine human being. I think you're precisely a decade younger than me.
47.
Can you give me any tips, please?
It's more in the diet than it is in the exercise.
Are you sure?
Yeah, absolutely.
What all of the
Absolutely. Like what you put in your body,
Yeah.
you can't out
Train
exercise
a bad diet.
diet.
All right, give us your diet then. Give us your
You start off with the carbs in the morning, but
Yeah.
you also have protein at every meal, right? So if you have like a straight oatmeal
good,
sort of
isn't it?
thing with some eggs, that'll help. Then at lunch, you'll have like a potato or rice, some sort of clean carbohydrate, along with veggies and protein, whatever that source of protein is. And then you try to go as paleo as possible at dinner.
Do you have
So
a coach?
No.
Do you have
No,
any-
I do have a nutritionist.
Yeah, I thought you might.
That I talk to and whatnot. And I try to drink a ton of water.
Yeah.
You know, try to drink at least like half your body weight in ounces of water. So I try to drink like 100 ounces.
There's a formula for that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how many liters a day, how many glasses a day maybe?
10, 12.
10, 12.
Yeah,
and how
yeah,
are you
yeah.
at night time? Do you sleep through? Are you a super sleeper?
If I don't eat too late, I can sleep through the night. But if I have
What?
something to eat too late, I'll wake up to have to, whatever.
Oh my goodness. All right. We can't have you on without talking about This Is Us. Is that okay?
It's totally fine.
All right, Rachel, over to you.
Sterling,
Yes, ma'am.
This Is Us.
Yes.
Were you prepared for the impact that show would have on how people actually wanted to live their lives?
No. Sincerely, I knew that it was one of the best shows that I'd ever read in terms of its pilot. I knew that we had put together a really wonderful cast. We had a great showrunner. And I think as we're shooting it, because you shoot the first 6 or 7 before it gets out to air. And as we're shooting it, and as we as a cast are reading the scripts, we're like, this keeps getting better. This is pretty cool. And so when they finally hit the air and people reacted to the pilot, and we're pretty excited about that, and the enthusiasm continued to grow. My cousin, after episode 4, I want to say, which I think is entitled The Pool, when Randall is sort of talking about like his issues with being in the swimming pool and how they, the black people on one side and white people on the other side, and he's always anxious to be around black people because he lived in a white family. I don't know if everybody watches it. Is the show? I don't know how the show did over here.
Amazingly.
It's huge.
Did it?
We started talking about it this morning, and all we received on WhatsApp for an hour was This Is Us Love.
Okay. So folks will probably know the show. When my cousin saw the show, now my cousin is a black woman who is plus size, and she's an artist, right? And so she said, Sterling, I know you think, because I just done The People versus OJ the year before, and she's like, I know you think that was a big deal, but let me tell you about this show. She says, I see myself in Randall. I see myself in Kate. I see myself in Kevin. She says, this show is like therapy and church and entertainment all rolled up into one. And so that one show was cool, but this is the one. And at that point, I was like, okay, this is impacting people in a way that we would have hoped for, but never imagined would actually catch on the way that it did.
And like Beth and Randall's marriage, how they interact with each other. How much input did you and the actor who played Beth get to give into that, or have they written that all for you? Especially your worst case scenario game, which I use in
We had some input. I think Dan Fogelman, who's the creator of our show, will say that like he sort of loosely based Randall on himself, right? And then he sort of loosely based Randall and Beth on my marriage. My wife and I met freshman year of college. We've been off and on. It's not quite as harmonious as Beth and Randall, but we've been together for a very, very long time, and sort of used that as the template for how he wanted this marriage to be modeled. But Susan Kelechi Watson, who plays my wife, we also went to grad school together for acting at NYU. So we approached the work in a very similar way. We had a deep friendship beforehand that just grew and grew. And there's real love between people. I don't think that's something you can fake on camera. Like, we love each other, and I think that love was able to translate and become something that's R&B for life, you know?
Great questions. Happy with the answers?
I'm just
It's so
so happy you're
perfect.
here.
Yeah, I know. So many people are happy you're here.
Thank you.
Because I'm a Neanderthal, because I'm a caveman, I haven't seen 1 minute of This Is
I'm
Us.
so jealous
And
of
now
you.
I'm going to watch 106 episodes, which is the great thing about being in something else.
Yeah.
Because it feeds back into your career and other things, no matter what it is. I can't wait to watch. Is it, from what I'm hearing, forgive
Yes.
me that I haven't seen This Is Us.
It-
You can't
I-
watch every
no.
TV show in the world, can you?
All good.
It seems to me from what I'm hearing that there's quite a lot of This Is Us in American fiction and a lot of American fiction in This Is Us. Would that be right?
Well, I think the center of American fiction, while it is a satire that is sort of skewering the way that black stories have been told traditionally in Hollywood and in publishing, the center of the film is the family.
Right.
Right? And the center of This Is Us is the family. So those things are, connective tissue.
What have you? I mean, lots of people have taken lots of things from This Is Us and will take so many things forever from American fiction. This is one of those movies that times it also breaks the fourth wall, and you think that's not so. It's got the.
That's a great scene.
It's like the player. It's like the end of this is like the beginning of the play. You think, hang on a minute, what did it? What?
Little Altman. Yeah.
It's so cool, man. But we take a lot of things from films and from books that we read. You're working on this. You've worked on this film. You've worked on this TV show. What have you learned from them that you've taken into your own life?
Oh, good questions. So I'll start with This Is Us because I think that Randall is someone who is a perfectionist, and the pursuit of perfection can often be at the sort of impasse of improvement. And he lives with anxiety, and he has panic attacks throughout the show and in his past. And so I think I've learned that doing your best and concentrating on the process rather than the outcome should always be an end goal. I'm sure you as a surfer, but I've heard about the spiritual connection of being on the board and in the water.
Yeah.
And if you're too sort of focused on the outcome, you miss the journey, right?
It's the progress in the process.
Yes.
The moving towards.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what I mean. Then with regards to American fiction, I think, for Cliff specifically, it is the ability to live your life as your authentic self.
Yeah.
And if you are living your life for anybody else's benefit other than yourself, real happiness I do not think is attainable. So I think you have to be true to yourself and live what you know to be your truth.
Goodness me. I mean, that is a high bar, though, isn't it? Even for
It is.
the best intentioned of us. Because there's the truth, and then there's the truth, telling the truth. Being true to yourself is one thing. We can all be true to ourselves. Not that we are, but we can all be true to ourselves. And also the sort of adverse or inverse bookend of that is we are also the easiest person to fool. We feel ourselves much quicker and easier than we fool everybody else. We just prefer to think it's not that way.
Interesting.
But I think that somebody said to me yesterday, it's fine being truthful as long as it's in the spirit of the truth. So you don't just speak your mind.
Yes.
With
not at the expense of unkindness.
Exactly. Or winning an argument or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely think that it is better to be in harmony than right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, no, there's a great Rumi quote. There's a field beyond right and wrong, and I'll meet you there.
Amen.
That's where we
I love that.
Right, back to the truth of your marriage. Because it's all about relationships. This is us, all about relationships, all about people, about human beings.
Sure.
They say there are two kinds of people.
Okay.
Right? Two kinds of human being. Those that are lost and those that know they're lost.
Oh, that's good.
And that's as good as it gets. And that's sort of where we are, isn't
like
it?
that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
And talking about you and your wife again, is it true that you have a podcast now?
We do have a podcast.
This is funny, man.
That will come out sometime in February.
All right, so nobody's heard it.
No, it hasn't come out
Right,
yet. It's
okay.
called We Don't Always Agree with Ryan and Sterling. Ryan's my wife.
Had to happen.
Had to happen.
Yeah.
You know, in the middle of the strike that was going on in the States, I don't think it affected production
Oh,
as
no,
much
it
over
affected
here.
guests here, loads. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
did affect guests. So my wife was like, we should do something, right? And I was like, okay. She had an idea for this podcast. We came up with a little bit of a concept. We got some producers, got 12 episodes for our first season, and we're very excited about it. And we talk about everything from how we came together to how we raise our children, to our ayahuasca experience, to like just our approaches to spirituality, etc., and the business. And it's a great time. Like, it's lively conversation. She's a very funny woman, very thoughtful individual, and she sort of like elevates us. You know, she upgrades us as a couple.
That's
so
the way to do
it's
it.
fun.
I'm sure you do the same for her.
I hope so.
The ayahuasca experience is interesting because it can go many ways.
Very.
How different were how different was your experience compared to your wife's?
Completely and totally. Wow. Completely and totally. We went to a place in Costa Rica, which is one of the few, maybe only licensed dispensaries of the medicine in the world.
And the Blue Zone.
Yeah,
As well.
yeah, and the Blue Zone. Look at Evans, my goodness. And it was amazing. And what I learned from the medicine is that everybody has a degree of control that they like to have or think that they like to have, and the medicine sort of takes that away from you. And then you have to understand what it's like to live knowing that you are not in control, right? And breathing and being comfortable with that. And it's also a situation where, for me, I learned that the universe is ever unfolding. And oftentimes we as human beings like to make the universe smaller so it is easily and readily digestible for us, rather than standing in awe at the expanse of what the totality of reality is. It's awesome and sort of awe-inspiring and can be daunting sometimes. And just learning to breathe and be present. All that along with buckets for you to do other things, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
So that was your experience.
Yeah. And well, you'd have to let her say, I mean, she's told me a little bit about hers. I think for her too, she's a nauseous person to begin with. Like, if you put her in the back of a car and you go too fast, it's going to be a little trepidatious. So there's that. But I think for her, she'll say that it was the first time that she experienced the divine as a female presence. Right. Because I think growing up in the church, in the traditional church, there's always he in his image, et cetera, et cetera. And it was the first time that she experienced the all-powerful as a feminine energy, which was a very powerful experience for her.
This podcast, what a great trial for the podcast. We're in. It's funny because there's a big story yesterday about podcasting because obviously Joe Rogan signed to Spotify for $100 million. And that is, you know, he says it was that much. It was that much.
Yeah.
And they said the days of big check podcasting are over. I don't think so because Jason Bateman's just signed for $100 million yesterday as well, didn't he?
Wait, individually or like the whole?
For the three. What's it called, that show?
Smartless.
Smartless,
yes.
Yeah. So, because they tour it, don't they, around arenas and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with the nomination. You say... have you discussed this with other people in the know? You say is Robert Downey Jr.'s got it down.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll say that. You'll say that
all day long.
Yeah.
All right. The film American Fiction, which is principally why Sterling's here, but it's great to have you here anyway.
Thank you, sir.
Is out tomorrow across the UK. You're on Graham Norton's show. You're recording it tonight, so people can watch that tomorrow here in the UK.